underscore SALV underscore table, which is the class for the what we can call a factory method. Okay, factory method. The previously, what are the things we need to require to create a simple ALV using OOPS? Okay, using OOPS. So firstly, we retrieve the data, we extract the data. After that, we are going to have we design the container and we created the object for the container and the CLG grid, and we assign a parent-child relationship. After that, we are filling the field cat. Okay, we are filling the field cat. After that, we are going to whatever the space which we design the container, it will be captured the output in those particular area. So this many steps to require to create an ALV using OOPS. But when it comes to the CLSALV table, it will be completely sorted to remove all those steps particularly. Okay, so I would say if your logic is completed, only display is pending, so there is no need to create the container and objects for it, filling the containers. Okay, so instead you can use this CLSALV table. It is simpler display, I can say, simpler display method. So we don't have too many steps to display the data in the ALV using OOPS. So if you go with the CLG ALV grid, we are having so many different steps is involved to create that particular factory method. Sorry, other than the factory method. So why we are calling this as a factory? The many people is calling like as a factory method because there is a one method called as factory here. Okay, factory. Okay, factory. If you go for the display, if you go for the display, so here it also initialize the container part. If you want to make it as a container, okay, if you want to make it as a container or using this factory method, you want to display the data in the container, so that is also possible here. Directly it is asking our container and the container name also. Okay, RSALV table. So what it is referring? Okay, this will object, right? So what it is referring? The current class. Okay, if we create an instance, that is enough, right? So T table is the internal table. So it is also initializing the containers. It's also initializing the instance. It's also initializing the internal table, which we extract the data. Okay, whatever the things which we need to require to create an ALV using OOPS, it's all every steps will be covered in this factory method itself, instead of going creating the containers and the object assigning, filling the field cats. So instead of doing all those stuff, it's very helpful to us. It's a simpler method to display a data into the ALV using OOPS. So let me go to the practical part of this particular OOPS ALV. So let me create a program. jet factory ALV. Okay, click on create. Oops, ALV using factory method. Okay, and again, executable program. Click on save. Local object, no standard page heading. Let me check the syntax and activate. Let me write down a query first. Tables, 𝐒𝐀𝐏, select options. Yes, 𝐵𝐵LN for 𝐒𝐀𝐏 𝐵ELN. Let me save it. And again, let me write down a simple query to fetch BSART, ERDAT, ERNAM from 𝐒𝐀𝐏 into table @data LT 𝐒𝐀𝐏 where EBLN. This is the simple query to extract purchase header data. After this, so if we do in the 𝐶LGUI grid, after this, what we are taking after extracting the data, we create an instance for the 𝐶LGUI grid. After that, we are creating container, right? And object assigning, and we design the container. So there is no need to do that in here, because everything is initialized in the single method itself. So there is no need to design the container also. So in those CLG grid class without container, so that's not going to be possible. So let me call that particular, okay, that particular method which will initialize those instance and the internal table display. Sorry, factory, right? Factory. Okay. So if you see here, factory. Okay, go for it. So if you double click on this, yes. Okay, if you search the method as factory, so see, this is the static method. So do we need to create an object for the static method? We don't need,
No.
right? So that's the reason which we are not creating any object for it. But we need an instance because I want to access remaining method also. How can I access? Through the instance only, right? So for that, we have to create an instance. Like how I shown, right? Type ref2 using this particular class. You can also mention explicit declarations and go further. Try. The beauty of the OOPS classes is, so directly you can initialize, this is the right, this will initialize, right? Exporting. Okay. So directly you can initialize those instance in the assigning itself. 𝐿𝑜 or you can declare 𝐿𝑜 type ref2 CLSALV table. So instead of declaring it, so directly you can assign it. So pass the internal table here, lt _𝑒𝐾 𝐾𝐽. So why it's showing like this? Because of this. Okay. Let me save it, check the syntax and activate. Now you can understand here. This will initialize the instance of the factory method, and whatever the data which we extract from the purchase header we moved into the internal table. Okay, so the data is ready, but if you want to display this internal table, we are having a separate method called as a display. Okay, till the factory you will get the those instance and the internal table data, but that is not help you to display the data. Okay, for example, if I show in the debugging mode, I'll get the data. Okay, let me put the breakpoint here and execute. 4501 4509, execute desktop 3. Okay, 𝐿𝑑𝐞𝐏, I'll get the 9 records. Okay, I'll get the instance also. Initial means not yet the object is created. Once if I execute this method, I'll get that. Okay, now it is created. If you double click on this, so this is the one CLSALV table. And you can execute. Now I am not getting any data. Okay, let me go to that particular class. Let me open another session. Go for the display method. So find next, find next, find next, find next, find next. Here we'll be having the display, right? So if you go for the parameters, we don't have nothing. Okay, just call this parameter. Sorry, call this method output table. Okay, this will initialize the whatever the data from the internal table we have. For example, so what is the instance of our class? That is the 𝐿𝑂-ALV. Control F6 for the pattern. Here we'll be having the instance because the display method is the instance method. For example, this is our instance which we created for the CLSALV table. Go for the F4 help. Here we'll be having the display and execute. Okay, so now it's called. Let me check the syntax and activate and execute. Now we'll get the data. 2509 and execute. Okay, now we get the data.